This is Cynthia Sue Larson with realityshifters.com, and today I'm talking with you about an interesting subject to me because it has to do with making changes in ourselves, about acting like and becoming a better you. And I've got a quote today from Bob Dylan who says, "Act the way you'd like to be, and soon you'll be the way you'd like to act." And I was wondering, for this episode of Reality Shifters, I'd love to know, what would you think, what would you say if someone were to tell you that your sense of self is constructed and it's actually just a story that you tell yourself, a story that you tell others, that there's a lot more you than you might actually acknowledge. This is the premise of an author and a psychologist, Bruce Hood, who is associated with the University of Bristol. He wrote a book called The Self-Illusion, and in it, or associated with it, he states, "My hypothesis is the subject as multiplicity," which is one of my favorite subjects. I love talking about this idea that we live in a holographic multiverse, which means an interconnected set of parallel universes that all come back together. And if you think of yourself as being able to wear many different costumes, many different names, many different attitudes, as you move through your life, you'll recognize that most of us who reinvent ourselves, this is especially true of entertainers. You'll notice entertainers such as Madonna and Mark Wahlberg. These are people who have changed and changed and changed and changed themselves many times through their lives in order to present another side of themselves, another piece of who they are. And to say that any one of them is the real Marky Mark or the real Madonna is pretty much to miss the point. Because what's really happening is at each phase in our life, we are going through a transformation. This isn't just my theory. This is a theory which came forth when Bill Moyers interviewed Joseph Campbell on the program The Power of Myth, which you can also read in book form, and either way it's phenomenal, highly recommended. And in it, Joseph Campbell was asked by Bill Moyers what it is about mythology that this very famous, world-famous mythologist would be actually using in his regular daily life. And Joseph answered that he really follows something that was based on a tradition in India, for instance, of actually changing your whole way of dress, even changing your name as you pass from one stage to another. And I mentioned this concept also in my book, Quantum Jumps, An Extraordinary Science of Happiness and Prosperity. And one of the things you can read on page 118, Healed by a New Name, I share the wonderful research that's been presented by Gary Lee and Nicholas Tapp in their study of the Hmong, when they show that the ancient Chinese practice of changing a child's name if it becomes very sick is one that's still practiced today. And you might think, what is going on when you think that just changing a child's name could have anything to do with their health and well-being? Well, this is a long-studied practice that has been followed for centuries, thousands of years actually, and it's still happening to this day. So one person might say you can't argue with success, because you can think of it as a whole community of people calling out to another possible reality, the reality in which the child is not sick, giving that child a new name in that reality, and a lot of healings are apparently experienced in this fashion. And today I'd like to take you on a little bit of a journey, because I've got the power of video here. So in addition to just talking about great ideas from this book, Quantum Jumps, showing you how you can picture another reality for a better you. And it might be almost anything. You might wish that you had pursued a musical career, or at least been able to explore it a little bit in your life and felt like you missed the boat. It's not too late. You might feel that you wished you could have learned more about medicine. Well, it's not too late. You might wish that you could be something different, not just with your career, but like a whole new you, a new you presented to the world. It's not too late. And I personally have gone through what Joseph Campbell is talking about. I have changed my name a number of times already in this life. Along with the name, I've changed my persona. So let me take you on a journey. And we're starting, this is pretty much the way I dressed in the 1980s. It's an approximation. I would wear a business suit, usually with a little bow tie that I would tie up here. And this is during the time that I had just changed my name for the first time. I had taken on a new last name when I got married, and I was known in the bank that I worked at as my childhood nickname, which was Cindy Sue, usually not with the middle name. But that was pretty much how I was known. My hair was shorter, so if you can imagine, it's kind of shoulder length, a little bit, really kind of a short shoulder length cut, very businesslike, with the bow tie, the suit. Then that's pretty much how I was as I was working as an MBA in a Fortune 500 international company, doing a lot of strategic planning and project management. What happened next is big change came to my life. I got pregnant. I realized this is a big opportunity to live overseas. So my husband and I and our first daughter moved to Switzerland. And that's where I got the fantastic realization that when you make a move, you really can change a lot. And so I took advantage of that, and the dress that I'm wearing under this jacket is a dress that I got when I was in the 1990s. So this is very form-fitting. When you're living in Europe, it was perfectly fine to dress like this and not be thought any less of. This is how a lot of professional women were dressing in the 1990s. Not so in America, so I had a blast enjoying myself like that. When I came back, I went through another name change. And this is a time in my life when I went through a divorce. I had just experienced that amazing Kundalini experience a number of years earlier. And when I talked to a publisher about publishing my books, my publisher was recommending, instead of being called Cindy Sue, that doesn't sound so professional, why don't you go back to your original birth name? Go back to Cynthia, the name no one's ever called you, really, ever in your life. So I went back to my original real name, Cynthia, kept the Sue, and kept Larson. And for this phase in my life, I wear a lot of batik, I wear a lot of things like beads, I wear a lot of flowing dresses, usually they go floor length. And so this would be the Cynthia Sue Larson phase, the best-selling author, spiritual life coach, and this is a very different look. Now my hair is growing out long, and I have been doing martial arts for the last 14 years, actually, going on to the 15th. So what that has done for me also is to give me a new title based on the level of black belt that I've attained. So I'm known by my rank, which currently is Kyosanim. And so this is a little bit of background on how someone can go through those life changes and each time change your entire attitude, your viewpoint, and your awareness of who you really are. Because I'm not any one of these roles that I play. And one person once pointed out, why is it that you always say this is Cynthia Sue